Before we dive into today's show, an update on the sub-battle for the month of May. We are narrowly ahead of Giants now. They've kind of closed the gap over the last few days. If you want more free Cowboys YouTube videos each and every single day, hit that sub button for me right now. On today's show, we'll take a look at some of the trade rumors, ideas, theories, suggestions, stuff that I thought was at least worth having a conversation on. One of which in particular is very stupid, which we'll get to at the end of today's show. Yes, I do want to make note, Stephen Jones recently, we mentioned this on Sunday's show too, implied the Cowboys were maybe not done making moves, saying, quote, never done. I think I've said it forever. 365 days a year is player acquisition. Certainly, if we see something that improves our football team, we'd make a move. The Cowboys have been pretty trade happy this offseason. They moved up in the draft for, I think, like the third time since 2016 or fourth time since 2016. They haven't done that too often. They made deals for Joe Milton, for Kenneth Murray, for Kyle, and of course, George Pickens. I suspect this team is going to be content to wait until training camp. They're going to see how things play out in that first 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then go, okay, we need this, we need that. But I still want to look at some of the ideas that have been suggested out there. Some of them are actually kind of interesting. Some of them are big. One is intriguing, name we discussed before. One is a big notable player that I think is going to get traded. Maybe not to Dallas, but is going to get dealt. And one is, I don't understand how some people get to write about sports for a living. And I have most tried to avoid those. Sometimes I do if they need to call them out because I get like messages and I see it on other outlets and I go, I just don't know what we're doing here. It's just not going to happen. So we'll break those all down here on today's show. But the pinned comment of the video is this. We'll give it before week 1. How about that? So a wide window here. Will the Cowboys make another trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show if the ad comes here on YouTube. Great, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's go to Jalen Ramsey. And this is kind of big NFL news too. There does kind of continue to be some buzz, some expectation that Jalen Ramsey will end up being traded by the Miami Dolphins. Barry Jackson, who was one of the better Dolphins beat writers out there, really Miami beat writers in general, does a lot of stuff down there, reporting Adam Schefter said, there's more interest in Jalen Ramsey than people realize. And June seems to be the timeline here for a potential Ramsey trade. I do think a post-June 1st trade makes sense. I think in general, we anticipate too many moves to come after June 1st because a lot of them can be made beforehand. Trades cannot be designated post-June 1st. It literally has to occur after June 1st. Here's why that deadline matters. As of right now, the Miami Dolphins have $14 million in cap space. It's fungible, but that's the current number. Ramsey's current cap hit is $16.66 million. If the Dolphins trade him right now, they lose about $12.5 million. So all of a sudden, that cap space goes to almost 0, and they're probably having to make other moves to free up cap space. Now, if they trade him after June 1st, they kind of get back into a better spot where they've got they save $5 million, and the cash begins to matter. Now, again, they're eating more money in 2026. That's okay. The 2025 cash right now for Jalen Ramsey is $21.1 million. Cash is similar in 26, 27, jumps a bit in 28. He is a free agent in 2029. The cash is what matters here. That's what you would be paying him. It is not what you would be paying him on your salary cap, though. In fact, Ramsey's cap hit for 2025 is just $5.92 million. It's 18.3 in 2026, continues to rise. Depending on if you cut him or release him in 2029 or if you cut him beforehand, there's going to be dead money left, but it really depends on when you cut him and how long he's around, but it's just kind of whatever leftover cash you haven't paid him yet. On the cap. So there is going to be dead money after that. In large part, there's a huge roster bonus due week 1. That's cash he gets paid out. Doesn't impact the cap, though, that heavily. So for the Ramsey contract, in terms of the cap hit, it's actually very easy to take on. It's not very expensive. Every NFL team can make that work if they want to. There is plenty of cash. At that point, you're staring on the barrel of, it's 1 year, $6 million, but if you cut him, eating 14 the next year. Then it becomes, okay, it's, 2 years. You're paying him around 18 or closer to $22 million, but a bunch of dead money there. So the cash is the issue. You can pay him short term. If you're a contender, you want to go for it in the 1 or 2 year window, Rams, that actually does work. It's probably too much for Dallas. Historically speaking, from what we've seen this team do, they don't really want to pay $21 million for 1 year, $42 million for 2 years. That's probably out of their self-imposed budget. And that's because they are paying a corner right now in Trayvon Diggs. I don't know how much longer they'll pay him. Deron Bland is going to get paid soon. They probably don't want to throw another high-priced cornerback at this room. In fact, big picture, if you're going to add Ramsey, you're probably looking at not Diggs and Bland next year, or guaranteed one of them gone, even though I already think one of them will not be here, long-term for the Cowboys. So, big name. I know there's the Cowboys had two trades they were talking about. I think that was some combination of Pickens, Rashad Bateman, and trading down in round 1. I don't anticipate them getting involved in the Jalen Ramsey sweepstakes. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks. Lineups, points, boards, assists. Simply take your pick of whatever for a shot to 2,000 times your cash today. Also, season-long football Prize Picks are available. CeeDee Lamb, I like the more than receiving touchdowns, even with George Pickens in tow, Breece Hall, less than yards on the ground. Justin Fields will cut into his touches there. And if Dak's healthy, I love the more than passing TDs. So if you haven't already, go over to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Let's talk Kyle Pitts. All these kind of getting picked up by other major outlets that feel the need to mention it. Micah Parsons' brother Terrence advocated the Cowboys trading a second-round pick for Kyle Pitts, as I merge picks and pits into one word. Look, that got picked up by other outlets, which, again, isn't surprising. It's May. I've got issues here, and I actually don't find this really all that likely. And I would even argue I don't think it's something you should want the Dallas Cowboys to do. The last 2 seasons, here are the numbers for Kyle Pitts and Jake Ferguson, respectively. Ferguson's got more targets, more catches, actually a little bit lighter on the yards. He does average 3 yards per catch here, in part because of the way those players are used. Pitts actually played in 3 more games over the past 2 seasons, so again, that's maybe the reasoning behind more yards. Same amount of drops, which at that point is actually a bigger red flag for Pitts because he's got 24 fewer targets and 30 less catches. But that's not that different. Like, that level of production isn't really a huge difference. At least it's not a big enough difference to justify a second-round pick difference, right? Right? Kyle Pitts was awesome in 2021. Then he got hurt in 2022, and he hasn't been the same guy. This level of production, not getting to 700 yards, at the point where he's got more drops than touchdowns over the course of his NFL career. I think that, in general, the idea of Kyle Pitts is a lot more intriguing than the current version. I've got more thoughts on this here. But would you trade for Kyle Pitts? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. Seems like every couple months there's some type of Kyle Pitts trade, idea, suggestion, whatever. At this point, entering year 5, the idea, the hope of what Kyle Pitts is or could be, I think is far greater than the actual realized version of what we have right now in the Falcons' young tight end. He's due almost $11 million this upcoming season. You want to pay $11 million for that's got more drops than touchdowns and hasn't hit 700 yards in 3 seasons? The idea of shipping off a second for Kyle Pitts, even though you can't draft in the second, that's a massive overpay. I don't think he's remotely worth that at the current contract and impact he's going to give you. A trade in 2025 isn't something I've got interest in. It's just not. Now, if and when Kyle Pitts becomes a free agent next offseason, and what you do it with Jake Ferguson, that could very well be a different conversation. But right now, I get that there's the name brand. I don't think it's a worthwhile investment. Now, we'll have more daily Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos for you right here on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. I'm going to cook a little bit here. Last Word on Sports claimed that Tyler Smith could look for a trade out of Dallas. Before I eviscerate them, here was what the article claimed. Athletes First recently announced Tyler Smith as a client, and the agent change suggests he wants to begin extension talks. Unfortunately for Smith, it's hard to envision a world where the Dallas Cowboys prioritize him. Owner Jerry Jones dragged his feet with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb's extensions, and the unsigned Micah Parsons right for their top priority at the moment. Smith could be the odd man out, but several teams across the league could be willing to trade for the offensive lineman and give him the contract he deserves. Spoiler alert, /newsflash, the world where the Cowboys actually prioritize Tyler Smith, if not number one, at number two, is actually the world we live in. This should be your last word on sports because you don't know ball. Be aware of what you're writing about. Come on. The lack of knowledge here is frankly astounding. Well, the Cowboys are going to pay him to trade him. What? Want to trade away one of the better young guards in football who you've got a fifth-year option on and franchise that? What are you talking about? I think it is vastly more likely the Cowboys pay Tyler Smith. So what do you think? What is the percent chance the Cowboys actually pay Tyler Smith? I'll go more in depth in why I think that will happen, but I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section of today's show. I don't know when, because it's the Cowboys, but I do think they will pay Tyler Smith. As of right now, they're not, you've moved on from the Zach Martin contract, the Travis Frederick contract, the Tyron Smith contract. You kind of have one in Terrence Steele. That's get-out-of-able after this upcoming season. I don't know if it's going to be a smooth process. It's the Cowboys. It's often not. This is your linchpin offensive lineman. For a team that is so committed to investing in the offensive line, the idea that they wouldn't pay their best one is nonsense, frankly. It's going to be expensive. We talked about this on a previous show. It's going to come in around $4 for $22 million per year. Highest paid guard money. If you get it done before Trey Smith, even better. The Cowboys, as a reminder, folks, are not actually committed to very many players beyond this season. Right now, it is Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Osa Odigizua. Yeah, they've given contracts to Trayvon Diggs and Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker and Terrence Steele. Wilson's going to be a free agent. Those contracts are all extremely cuttable after this year. Not even tradable, cuttable. Now, eventually, Michael will get added to this list, but teams spend top money on a lot more than 3 players, 4 players, 5 players. Right, Philly? The idea that, there's going to be an odd man out, it's not going to be Tyler Smith. Could it be a Diggs? Sure. Could it be a Jake Ferguson? Sure. Is it going to be Donovan Wilson? Absolutely. Is it going to be Tyler Smith? No, I don't think so at all.